Hello, good afternoon once again. So in this particular video, we were considering how to add different users to your account. So let's say you have steps, you have people working in your firm or your company that you need to assign them to do certain things on the software. So with assigning, with creating different users, now that what that actually allows you to do uh, is to allow people to have a particular access to certain things on the software. That means with creating user, you can restrict people to what they can have. They can have access to on the software. So you can limit people to be able to only be able to do certain things on the software. So to achieve that, you need to create a user account for whosoever you want to also make use of the account of your account on the CraneSoft ERP software. So basically, how you're going to go about doing that? You're going to come to the left hand side, and then before the logout section, above it you see the users. So to add a user, what you simply click on is click on add users. As I said, what you are doing is what we're trying to achieve through this is to allow different individuals to have access to our account and to be able to perform one or the other tasks. So you can get to restrict each user to what kind of thing they can do on the software. So in creating user, you simply come here and write the name of the person. So I'll go ahead and do that. The last name. But you're going to go ahead and add the of the email address of the user you're planning to add, and you're going to create a password for the user. This is the password the user will use to access whatsoever account you're creating for the individual. Next thing you're adding is the address. So you just simply fill up all of these details: the date of birth, the state. So I'm going to go ahead and add the state, then the sex, the phone number, and then you can add a picture. Just going to go ahead and add one of these pictures. So, so basically now, what you have done is you have added the information about the user you're planning to add. The next thing, which is actually vital, is where you get to assign role to the user you are planning to add, and you get to assign what type of user you are adding. Is the user going to be what is the user? So from here you can get to assign what kind of user do you want this user to be. Do you want it to be the major admin? You want this user to be an editor or whatever you want the user to be able to do on the software. So there's a user type, the user role. All of these are things you will have to create on the software, which are also going to show us in this particular video. How you get to create user role. So you can see here we have super administrator. You can get to create different roles for your admin. What's the user type? Is the person a tailor? Probably in an organization where you have different kinds of people. What do I mean by different kind of people? People with different uh, designation, what we are meant to do in the company. So you can get to create different types of users. The next thing is to assign branch. What branch does the user belong to? And then to assign store. We already created a video on how to create a branch and how to create a store. But also in this video, we're going to look at how to create your user role and your user type. So having had all of that, the next thing to do is to save. That's it, saving. Said user role is required. That means we miss that out. So any information you get to miss out, you see this pop up that will tell you what error you are making. So say the user role. So I'm going to pick the user role as super administrator and then save once again. So we have successfully created a user now. So you can go ahead and save the information. So you can see this is the user here. The picture that I just added is also showing here. This icon here, you can use it to update and edit the user or add any other informations you want to correct or make adjustment to. This other icon here is the delete icon. So let's say I don't want this individual to anymore have access to the account. All you simply do is to click on this delete button. So let's say this individual, you don't want this individual anymore to be able to access the account. You simply click on this, and with this, the person no longer has access to the account. As I said earlier, let me click on this update icon. I said that there are two other things I want to show us, which is needed in creating a user, which is the user role. That is, what role is the user going to play having this account, and then the type of user. The other two items here are things we have discussed in the previous videos. They assign the branch as well as the store. So once you come to user here, you're going to see a drop down again. Scroll down here to see the drop down. The manage user is going to show you the list of all of your users. That's people you have already added as users. That is people that have privilege to this account to do these one or two things based on the privilege you have given unto them. So the next thing you're going to see here is add role. Add role. As I said, user role and user type are things you need to also add as well. So I'm going to add a role. What role do I want this user? What's the name of the role? So let's say the user role, the name is going to be cashier. That's the role of this particular person I'm adding. So if the person is using this particular software for inventory to keep record of purchase, of sales, I want to as I want to limit this particular individual to what the person can access on this particular software. So the job of this thing is that you can limit individuals based on what you want them to see on the software. So when the individual logs in on the platform, what are the things the person will be able to do? So after you've added the role name, which I've added the cashier, this is actually dependent on you. You can add whatever name depending on the user you're adding. So to manage sales. So once you click on this, you're saying the person can manage sales. He can read all. The person can update, can make correction. So that means the person can create sales. He can read sales. The person can update, and the person can delete sales. So what we call this is CRUD, uh, could informations. So you have the create, the read, update, and delete. That means I've given this cashier, this particular user, access to be able to create, to read, update, and delete sales. Let's say all you want the person to be able to do is to create and not be able to read or previous sales or update or delete. You can just click click on this and then you'll mark it. But then if you want to give the person access to all of it, to manage reports, to be able to create reports, read the reports, update reports, delete reports. So this is actually dependent on you based on what you want that particular user to be able to do on the software. This for sales reports, this for statistics, and then customer. Do you want the person to be able to manage customer receipt, payments, customer ledger, manage measurement? So all this is up to what you really want the person to be able to perform. So I'm just going to go ahead and click mark some of them, not all. As I said, this is a demo account. You, so this also for products. For this user, what kind of thing do you want the person to be able to do as touching product? Will you be able to create category, unit, manage unit, add product, manage product? So all of this is dependent on you and the kind of user you're adding. This also is for vendor. So you can go ahead and tick as much as you want and untick the ones you don't. So I'm just going to tick some and leave out some. This for branch and store inventory. Can the person create branch? Can he create store? I'm just going to leave all of this. Leaving all of this simply means that this particular user is not going to have access to report. He's not going to have access to account. He's not going to have access to bank, tax, my HRM. The person will not be able to probably see uh, employees and their salaries and what have you. So this is dependent on what you really want the person to see, as I said earlier. I'm going to leave all of this out. Leave all of this out. And then having done all that you want the person to have access to that particular user, what you simply do is to save. Now, I've successfully created that role. So simply come back to user here and scroll down and you see user assigned role. So I can simply select a user out of the user. This is one of the users I just created not too long. And then I can pick cashier. So once I pick cashier for this user, that means this particular user will only be able to perform the things I've given him or her privilege to. So once you save like this, that means this particular user can only do all of this. If you keep it as super administrator, that means the person actually have access to do all that you can also do on the software. So you can see on user, you can create a user, assign a role to the user. So the the major benefit of that is that you can limit different individuals based on what you want them to have access to. Another thing you can see here is the role list. I'm going to go ahead and click on role list. So here you can see super administrator, cashier. So right here you can delete. So if you don't want this role anymore, once you delete this, any individual that you assign this role to before now will not have that kind of access anymore. So from here you can delete role or you can update role. So let's say for that same individual that now I've decided now to allow the person to have access to report, you just can simply click on that update button and then add that to what the person can have access to. Having done that, the next thing you're going to do is to save. So with this, you can create different users based on your staffs, based on people you want them to have access to the software and the kind of tasks you want them to be able to perform on the software. So let me go back to user to ensure that I'm not leaving anything out. So we already seen how to add user. The manage user is showing you all of the users you have. This is where you get to add role for the user. This is where you get to see the role list, which is the page we are now. And then this is where you get to assign role. Having add role, the next thing you're going to do is to assign role. And you pick the user, which you must have created here also on the user section. And then you get to pick the role you want for such user. So with this video, you shouldn't have any challenge creating users, assigning role to users, deleting users, updating information about users, giving certain privilege to users removing those privileges and updating them. So I hope you get value from this particular video, and thank you once again.